Good afternoon to you. Well, last night the President speaking about progress being made in the poultry industry, how it's now producing, I think the figure was 1 million chickens a week. But the poultry industry also under pressure because of international trade. As I understand it, the problem is this. Brazilian chickens are sold here because the US and Asian markets prefer what's called white or breast meat, while we in other markets prefer what's called the brown meat, the thighs and drumsticks. That means that Brazilian chickens are sold here for below the cost of production in Brazil. It's a practice in trade known as dumping. Isaac Breitenbach is the general manager at the South African Poultry Association, the Broiler Association as well. Isaac, good afternoon to you. The Poultry Association, the poultry industry, according to the president, seems to be doing rather well. Was he right in his assessment?
Stephen, that is correct. We have not skipped all the effects of global trade. Neither have we escaped the whole COVID pandemic. But I really think we make progress. And the president mentioned an increase in production. But really what we have is an industry development plan that covers the production expansion, inclusive of transformation, but it also covers the market environment. In terms of what we could control, the expansion plan, we've done really, really well. To address the marketing issues, we will be announcing very soon application for anti-dumping tariffs against Brazil and 4 European countries. In the longer term, we have made progress in terms of exports. The first country opened up is the UAE, and the next focus area is the EU.
So, I mean, you would then predict from what you're saying that as all systems go, you've got a good launch pad with a little bit of luck, this industry will continue to grow, continue to create income, continue to create jobs.
Absolutely. We are affected by a reduction in consumption. That is absolutely true. But our planning cycles are quite long. It is in the excess of 18 months for us to plan for anything. If we look at the industry at present, we have increased production by 1 million birds per week, from about 19.5 million birds per week to 20.5 million birds per week. And the forecast is that we will go to 21.5 million birds a week very, very soon. And that is in terms of the planning process. The second process is that we need to address the dumping, and I've mentioned that. And the second process in terms of that would be to look at absolutely illegal trade. I can mention to you that you can buy deboned thighs at R6.85, now FOB price, from another country in the world. And that is blatantly illegal. I think this is an industry that is key to the whole grain value chain. And we employ about 130,000 people. And in this process, up until now, I've created 1,000 jobs when industry shed jobs. So I really think that we are focusing on the right things. It's not easy.
You spoke about consumption, and there was a nice little story coming out of the United States that consumption of chicken wings, and I like chicken wings more than anyone I know, but consumption of chicken wings dipped during the pandemic because sports events were cancelled, right? It's where people get together, the pubs and bars, taverns, etc. do really well in chicken wings. I mean, I presume that's the problem, is that people aren't eating food, and particularly chickens, in the way that they used to, and specifically the sort of high-value stuff, the stuff that a restaurant would sell rather than a supermarket.
Stephen, you're so right. 20 years ago, we couldn't get rid of chicken wings. Currently, the chicken wings is a prime product in any basket anywhere in the world. And we have seen up to a 95% reduction in the amount of catering products that we sell to the fast food outlets, but also to the restaurant trade. And all that product went into the other commodity products like the IQFs and things like that. So we have seen that effect. In terms of consumption, I think it's very interesting to say that before the first lockdown, hard lockdown, we consumed 200,000 tons of chicken per month in South Africa. Immediately after that lockdown, it was only 175,000 tons. And currently, we've picked up to more or less the 200,000 tons per month. And you will see that prices are either stable or down because of the lower consumption. But we're really suffering from incredibly high grain prices caused by droughts in America and the Chinese market actually buying a lot of chicken on the global market.
The grain prices are due to come down. I mean, we're expected to have the second highest maize harvest in our history as a nation because of the huge rains. I mean, that should have an impact on you, shouldn't it?
Absolutely. Last year we had an incredible crop, and we expected prices to be very low. But our prices are not determined locally. Our grain prices are determined on the Chicago Board of Trade. And we actually exported almost double the amount of maize last year, out of the country, obviously. It will depend on the stocks in the global market for the season to come, whether we will see lower prices or that prices stabilize. But I think in the next couple of months, there might be some relief on the raw material side.
Okay, you've spoken a little bit about Brazilian chicken, and I do want to get into this, and nothing makes my head explode as much as particle physics and then trade policy, because trade policy is so complicated, right? The Brazilian thing has been a major problem for ages. I mean, for a very long time, a major problem for our industry. Are you confident you'll be able to get the sort of trade relief that you'll need?
I think so. I think government sees chicken as one of the industries that actually can stimulate growth, and in the worst case, not shed jobs. And therefore, I believe that the government will assist in that regard. If we look at the root cause of international trade issues, it is illegal trade, trade that's illegal in terms of the WTO rules. And as I've mentioned earlier, we've asked for an anti-dumping duty against Brazil and 4 European countries. I can tell you that our calculations show that the highest level of dumping amongst those countries is 176%. And that is significant. And when we talk about that, that doesn't just decimate the big guys' profitability. It actually closes down the smaller producers. And what it also does is that people don't have jobs. In this process, we've created 1,000 jobs and families that now have food on the table. So it is imperative that we need to address Brazil. I can refer to you to the effect of the anti-dumping against America. That is totally effective. The only product coming in is under the AGOA agreement. So that particular anti-dumping tariff worked well. In terms of trade, one tariff doesn't do anything because global trade moves around the globe. But after this 5 countries that we're going to apply for anti-dumping duties against, I am absolutely confident that we've plugged enough holes to see an improvement in the local industry.
I mean, Isaac, I understand the problem. You represent the chicken industry. You need these duties. I get it. The problem, of course, is that they also make the price of chicken more expensive. Now, chicken is a massive source of protein. I mean, I would imagine possibly the second most important source of protein after actually eggs. So when you do this, you save your jobs. I mean, it's a classic trade problem. You save your jobs, but you make chicken just a little bit more expensive for people who maybe only get to eat meat once a week.
I don't agree with the statement. In general economic terms, whenever you add a tariff on top of an import price, it must increase the cost of the product for the consumer. We haven't seen in any of the tariffs that we've got in the past an increase in price. And the reason is that the R6.85 imported deboned thigh that is not sold in South Africa at R6.85, it's sold at market price. So if we can increase the total output of the industry, because of economies of scale, our prices will actually come down. So we are very concerned about the concern that you expressed, that we can't afford to increase the price for the consumer while we are in the COVID pandemic, while we've got global instability, and a lot of other issues that the president spoke about last night.
We do need to talk a little bit about electricity, and there's a massive producer with a factory, I think it's the Lekra municipality, which found it didn't get water or electricity. I mean, without water and power, you can't grow chickens. Electricity is a problem for you as well.
Electricity is a huge problem. It's got 2 effects. The one effect is that you actually can't produce, obviously, if there's no electricity. And I can just quote one figure. For an abattoir slaughtering 1 million birds a week, the abattoir stands at 100,000 Rand an hour. So that's the cost impact of 1 hour of load shedding on our industry. The second point is that it actually increases the cost. And what happened in the Lekwa municipality is that the producers themselves spent an awful amount of money and now is almost self-reliant in terms of water supply in that particular municipality. If we talk about the electricity side of it, generators in a big abattoir run at 800 liters of diesel an hour. And that's just an additional cost that we incur. So that affects us materially, the lack of infrastructure in the rural areas where we are.
Isak Breitenbach, I really appreciate the time. Thank you. I mean, there's so many things to talk about. It's a fascinating and really important business that you're involved on. Isak Breitenbach is the General Manager at the South African Poultry Association. Well, all of that coming up after those conversations during the State of the Nation last night.